Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our new vegetable varieties webinar. My name is Christine O'Loughlin. I'm the trials manager here at Harris Seeds, and I'll be your moderator for today. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to go through some basic housekeeping items. Everyone has been muted and your video is turned off. The webinar will be recorded and available later. We are going to have a questions and answer session at the end of the webinar. Any questions that you put in the question and answer chat will be answered at that time. And this will be posted and all of the new varieties will be viewed on our website. I'm going to introduce you to our speaker today. Her name is Kristen Noble. Kristen is the vegetable product manager here at Harris Seeds. She is responsible for working with seed breeders from around the world to trial new varieties, sometimes for multiple years, before we select varieties to add to our product line. Kristen works with our sales team as well as growers throughout the United States to gather feedback about the varieties and how they perform in different regions, and to make sure that we are selecting the very best products to meet our customers' needs. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Kristen and we will get started to show you what we have for the new year.
Thank you, Christine. I apologize, everyone. My voice is a little scratchy this morning. It's a great way to start a webinar, but I hope you can hear me okay. And if there's anything you need me to go back over, you can certainly mention it in the chat or in the Q&A and we can circle back around to it. Before we get started, we have some polls that we'd like you to complete so that we can get a better feeling about who's on the webinar and know kind of how we should direct our conversation today. Okay, we'll give a couple more seconds for that. Okay, so it looks like most of you are commercial growers, and then we have a good portion of home gardeners as well. So thank you all for joining, and I'll do my best to direct the conversation to kind of suit those of you who are attending here. Our next question, we're hoping you can tell us what sorts of crops you grow regarding vegetables. So in the past, you may have joined this webinar and we talked about both vegetables and flowers in the same conversation. This time we've split it up. So today is vegetables only. So if you let us know what types of vegetables you grow, then I'll know which ones to focus on most specifically. Okay, we'll give a little bit more time for everyone to answer. Okay, great. We've got a really nice spread of crops. The top choice was tomatoes, followed by, it looks like peppers, pumpkins, sweet corn, beans, and then a bunch of others. So all of the crops that we listed there are ones that we'll talk about today, but that helps me understand the ones to focus on. And that's kind of in line with what I expected and with what our primary crops are. So that'll be great. Okay, so we'll jump right in this morning. Let me see, I gotta get this moving along. It's pausing on me today. So we have a lot of new sweet corn varieties that we're really excited about this year. Again, as was mentioned, if you have any questions as we're going through these products, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And Christine will be reviewing those as we go, and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So Sweet Corn Troubadour XR is a new super sweet bicolor. It's a 76-day, so it fits in that mid-season slot. We will be offering it with insect guard treated seeds. So that's the cruiser treatment that a lot of people are familiar with. It goes, it is added to the IFSI Reserve brand, which was new for us a few years ago. That brand translates to superior eating quality, great tenderness, and really awesome agronomics. So we're excited to have another mid-season variety to add to that line. It has a really well-suited ear for roadside stands. So it's a nice ear size and shape for that market. I think it also works well for boxing, but it can have a little bit of a longer and larger ear, but a really nice attractive husk package for roadside stand sales as well. It can reach 8.5 inches, 16 to 18 kernel rows, so it's a pretty standard size. And the plants are really strong and have rust resistance. So that helps for that mid to late season slot that you would be planting Troubadour in. This is one that was one of my favorites this past season that I often took home from trials for my family to eat. So I think that you and your customers would like it a lot as well. The next one I want to feature is Sweet Corn Octane. This one is also available with the Insect Guard Cruiser treatment. It's a little bit later than Troubadour. It's a 78-day, but it's still a super sweet bicolor. It has really high sugars and tenderness and eating quality that holds really well in the field. So there was a couple times that I got to trial a little bit late, and this still stood up in the field, was really nice eating quality. It hadn't gotten too chewy or starchy yet. So that really gives you some great flexibility. It again has about an 8-inch ear with 16, 18 kernel rows and really strong seedling vigor and well-adapted plants. So we've seen it perform well in trials all across the Northeast. The next that I'll feature is Sweet Corn Icon XR. It is a 72-day super sweet yellow. So this fits in really well in that Vision slot. If you're a grower of Vision, I think you'll really like this one. It's got that really excellent eating quality with high tenderness and sweetness. It holds well in the field, and it's a really nice ear shape and size for your roadside stands. This is also a part of the IFSI Reserve line, so that exceptional eating quality and really great agronomic package that you've come to expect from those other varieties in that series. And like I'd mentioned, this is a really great comparison to your Vision and Vision MXR. And we have learned that Vision will be a little bit short this year on availability. We do have seed that's on the way. There will be seed available, but it will be coming in a little bit short. So you may want to consider trialing Icon XR or adding a little bit to your order in addition to Vision so that you have that backup. But I think it's one that you'll be really impressed with if you like Vision. The next one is Sweet Corn Platinum XR. This also comes from Illinois Foundation Seeds, though it's part of the Extra Tender brand. So it has that great eating quality with superior tenderness. It's an 80-day super sweet white. And so it fits kind of in that same slot as the Extra Tender 378A, if you're familiar with that one. It has improved eating quality for that late full season corn. Its ears can reach 8.5 inches, 16 to 18 kernel rows, so that standard size. One thing that really stood out to me across all of our trials for this product was that the kernel is strikingly bright white. So sometimes you'll get that creamy white in a white super sweet. This is a very bright white, and it contrasts really nicely with a really dark green husk. So it has a really nice appearance for roadside sales for sure. And for late season, it also has intermediate resistance to common rust and MDMV if you need that protection in your area. We had 2 new additions this year, which are improvements on existing varieties. So you'll see on the left is Eden RMN. It's an improved version of Eden, if you're familiar with that variety. But this now has added protection against rust, MDMV, and northern corn leaf blight. And then on the right, you'll see Takeoff MXR, which is an improvement on Takeoff that you may be familiar with, but now it carries rust and MDMV. So you may see that we have a little bit of standard Eden and Takeoff remaining in our inventory, but we'll be transitioning those over to Eden RMN and Takeoff MXR. Apart from the disease resistance packages, the traits for those products are unchanged. So you'll still have your mid-season white super sweet with high eating quality on the Eden, and you'll have your first early yellow super sweet with Takeoff MXR. If you have any questions about this transition, feel free to reach out to us or to your sales rep. Then next we'll talk about new synergistic for our line. So this is Sweet Corn Evolution. It is a 72-day synergistic plus. So it's kind of similar to a quad sweet or a triple sweet. It's kind of an improved synergistic with a higher % of super sweet kernels. So you have that same seedling vigor that you would expect from a synergistic, but with some of those improved eating quality traits with additional tenderness and sweetness, being that it's a synergistic plus. And this one in particular, we were really impressed with because it held really well in the field. So it is a 72-day, it's one of the earlier slots, but you have some flexibility in your harvest time because that sweetness and tenderness holds really well in the field and post-harvest. And again, it's a standard sized 8-inch ear with 16 to 18 kernel rows and really excellent quality and good soil emergence. So I would definitely encourage, if you are a synergistic grower, to give this one a try for your early season planting. And I think you'll be impressed with how it does. Then we'll transition into our popcorns. We had 3 new novelty colored popcorns that we added this year. So they're in our ornamental corn section. They'll probably fit for most of you as more of an ornamental product, but they are all still popping corns. So that gives you some flexibility there in your marketing. This one is Popcorn Early Pink. We are offering it as untreated seed. It's one of our earliest popcorns that we list right now at 90 days. So it works really well for areas with short seasons, or if you can't get into the field until a little bit later than you had hoped. This will give you some flexibility. The plants reach 5 to 7 feet and they set 1 to 2 ears each. They are a 5 to 7 inch ear and they have this really beautiful mauve pink color. So it's kind of unique from what you see in a lot of those deep reds and burgundies. This is the lighter, rich pink color. And the kernels do pop to a small butterfly style flake. So we were impressed with the unique color of this one to kind of add some diversity to your fall ornamental offerings. Next, we have Popcorn Ruby Red. This we are offering as treated seed. It is a hybrid popcorn. So it has really strong plants. They'll reach 8 to 9 feet, and the stand was really uniform in our trials and the instances that we've seen it with growers. It's a 100-day variety, and the ears will be 5 to 7 inches. You can kind of see that size in the picture here. The kernels are a really beautiful glossy burgundy color, and the kernels pop with really nice expansion, again, to a butterfly flake. So this will be a larger popcorn flake than what you would get with the early pink. And the hybrid plants make for a really consistent uniform stand and really great yield and consistent ear shape and appearance. So we were really impressed with that. Very similarly, Shaman's Blue is also a hybrid popping corn. It's 105 days, again, as treated seed in our product line. As the same with the Ruby Red, the hybrid plants are really vigorous and resist lodging. They'll reach 8 to 9 feet in this case. The ears are a little bit larger at 8 inches, and they have a really beautiful dark blue kernel. So if you grow Popcorn Mini Blue from our product line, this will be a larger ear and it'll be a deeper blue kernel than you get from the Mini Blue, which is a little bit more of like a lighter colonial blue from what I've seen. So if you have a lot of demand for blue popcorn as a specialty popping corn or as an ornamental, this would be a really nice choice for that. And this again pops to a butterfly flake with really nice flake expansion. So that wraps up our popcorns, and we'll lead then into our other fall ornamentals, which a lot of you commented that you are growing pumpkins. So we definitely have some exciting new products in the pumpkin lineup this year, a lot of specialty pumpkins. But we do have one standard jack-o'-lantern that we're really excited about, is this Pumpkin Justified. We're offering it as farmer treated seed. It's a 100-day variety that reaches 20 to 25 pounds. You can see it has a really nice burnt orange color with a dark, well-attached stem, and it's got some good pronounced ribbing on it, but it is a really nice carver. The stems are mid-length, so you wouldn't necessarily have to cut them if you were boxing them, but they have a good length for U-picks and taking out of the field or from a roadside stand without having much trouble or breakage. They do have a full vine with powdery mildew resistance, and we've trialed it all across the eastern US, and it's performed really well and put on some really good size even in the more southern climates. So we're impressed with Justify. And if you have interest in trialing this year, if you don't want to jump in with some samples, you can, or with a purchase, you can reach out to us and we would have some sample seed available as well. Then we can transition into our specialties. We have several new white varieties this year that we're really excited about. This one is pumpkin icicle. It is 105-day, 2 to 3 pound white pumpkin with a really strong, well-attached dark green stem. We are offering it with farmer treatment. The fruit have a really crisp white color that held really well in the field. I was very impressed with it in our trials. Consistently 3 to 4 fruit per plant, so you can plant them a little bit closer as well because they have a restricted vine. So you'll get some really nice yields out of this by planting your vines close and getting those 3 to 4 fruit consistently per plant. They do form closer to the crown, being that it's a restricted vine, so it was really easy to pick these as well. It is moderately ribbed, has a little bit of a flattened round shape, so really nice for decorating, but could also be used for painting, though it's not as smooth as some folks may like. It is around the same size as pumpkin snowball if you grow that currently, though it does have a little bit more of a well-attached stockier stem. So if you have issues with the stems falling off of snowball, you might want to try icicle. But we were really impressed with this one and the color retention in our trial. The next small white that we have this year is pumpkin snowdrop. We had listed this one in our catalog originally as pumpkin marshmallow. There was some transition with the name that had to happen with the breeding company, so you'll see it going forward listed as pumpkin snowdrop, but it is the same variety. Nothing has changed about it except for the name. But we are really excited about this one because it is a mini round white. So a lot of our minis right now are kind of that Jack B. Little shape, like a Baby Boo or a Casparita, but this is a true round white mini. It's 1/2 pound, 100 days. The bright white color holds really well. It has that round to upright fruit shape. The ribbing is really light, so it would be a really nice painter in my opinion. And the medium size vines, again, like the icicle, can be planted quite close and you'll get really exceptional yields off of this pumpkin snowdrop. We counted as many as 15 to 20 fruit per vine. So it is smaller, of course, so that kind of will lend to that. One thing that I'll add about this one is that we are not expecting to have seed in hand until late May. So if you would like to try this, just keep in mind that it'll be a little bit later shipment, so you'll have to save some space for it, or you can hold on to the seed until next year. But because it is a new introduction, we're waiting for new productions to come in. But we look forward to trying it. It was really an exciting variety for us in the trials this year. The next white that I have featured is pumpkin moonstacker. This will be available as standard treated seed. I'm really excited about this one because it is a shorter maturing, large white stacking pumpkin that is a hybrid. So right now we have flat white borer Ford, which you may be familiar with, is an older open pollinated variety. It's a little later to mature. Moonstacker is only 95 days to maturity, but it still reaches that 10 to 15 pounds. It has a little bit of a blockier shape than a flat white borer Ford does, but it is still a really nice shape for stacking. The bright white color held really well in our trials, and it paired really nicely with other stacking varieties, especially like the pinks, blues, and reds. And the fruit are also edible and they store really well and have a nice eating quality with bright orange flesh. So this is one we're really excited about, and we've had some crop delays and shortages on the flat white borer Ford the past couple of years, so we're excited to have an alternative available in particular, like I had mentioned, a hybrid variety that is early maturing. So we're excited about pumpkin moon stacker, and know that a lot of you are having increased demand for stacking varieties. So I hope that you will consider trying this one as part of your lineup. Next is pumpkin fireball. This is a really unique one, and we're excited about launching it for you guys. We've looked at it for the past few seasons. It was a mid-season introduction last year, so a few of you may have gotten your hands on some small amounts of seed, but it is being offered as treated seed, standard treated seed. It's a 110-day variety. It'll reach 9 pounds, and it has, you can see, kind of a round to upright round shape. The fruit have a solid yellow background with a stripe that will mature from green to orange. So if you pick them immature, they'll have a green striping to them. You can kind of see that around the stem area on some of the fruit in this picture. The fruit do have a little bit of a lightly warded texture, but that hasn't deterred anyone so far. It is really a unique, interesting variety. The pattern is very similar to pumpkin blaze. If any of you are familiar with that one, that is smaller and more flattened. This will be larger at 9 pounds and more of that upright round shape. But if you've done well at your stand with blaze, this would be one that will hopefully do well for you also. This does have a full vine, so you'll need to give it that a little bit wider spacing, and it has intermediate resistance to powdery mildew and zucchini yellows. So that's a nice addition. But yeah, this one is one that we were excited. We've been watching for a few years, and we look forward to hearing what you all think about it and how it does on your stands. Similarly, pumpkin lemonade was a mid-season introduction for us last year. So a few of you may have gotten some seed. We'll be offering it again this year as treated seed. It is a 110-day variety that reaches 18 pounds. So it is really a full-size, large jack-o'-lantern style pumpkin with a golden yellow color. So it is really unique in that it's a very deep yellow. If you grow mellow yellow and you like that one, you may like lemonade. Lemonade is a deeper golden as opposed to the more lemon yellow that mellow yellow has. And this has a little bit of a darker, thicker stem than mellow yellow does. It is a full vine and has intermediate resistance to powdery mildew. And we've really liked this one to pair it with yellow and, or I'm sorry, pair the yellow with white and orange varieties for that color combination there. We have seen a tendency for this, at least in our trials this past season. We saw some teardrop shaping on this one. So it does have that upright round shape, but can occasionally get a little bit of a teardrop shape to it as well. Next is pumpkin moringa. This one will be offered as untreated seed. It is an edible squash that has really great flavor and storability, but we were really impressed with it as well as a decorative because it has a really unique color that can range from a light pink to coral to deep salmon. So it kind of fits in that pink color range, but it's only 4 to 8 pounds. So it's a lot smaller than your porcelain doll or porcelain princess. And it has that different, deeper, more orangey pink color range. It matures in only 95 days. We really liked it as a topper for our pumpkin stacks. So we had some stacks that had like a Cinderella and a moon stacker and a peanut pumpkin and some other things like that in that pink range. And we topped it off with this smaller flattened pumpkin moringa and really liked the way that that looked. So that could be an idea if you're interested in some more orange and pink varieties for your stacker range. And as I mentioned, it eats really well and has good storability if you have a market for carrying those ornamentals into the edible season as well. Then we have pumpkin blue ice. This one we're excited about because it is one of the largest blue varieties we've seen, and it matures relatively early. So it's 100 days and it'll reach up to 30 pounds. It is a very blocky shape, has deep ribs, as you can see in this picture here. It is a softer blue-gray color, so it's not as dark as you may get in a Jardale or in a Jade Knight. But It is still in that blue-gray color scheme, and we've really liked it in pastel combinations or monochrome color schemes with blues and greens and whites. It has looked really nice. It does have a full vine, given that it is such a large fruit, but it does have resistance to powdery mildew, so that's exciting. So we look forward to having this as an addition to our blue pumpkin line with that larger size. Then we'll transition, staying within our cucurbits, out of our fall ornamentals and into some cucumbers and melons. This is cucumber East Spirit. This is a new pickling cucumber for us that we've looked at for a couple seasons, and we're really excited to be able to introduce it to you all. We'll be offering it with standard treatment. It is a 50-day variety. It's a monoecious pickle with concentrated set. So it's very similar to Eureka, if you're familiar with that variety. I would definitely encourage you to trial this one. It has that same blocky dark green fruit. It's a really nice, has a really nice appearance both for fresh market sales and performs really well and is very uniform for processing needs. The disease package has all of the different diseases that Eureka does, with addition of TLS and downy mildew. So if you have a need for those, particularly downy mildew, this could be a good choice for you if you're impressed with the consistency and uniformity of Eureka. This one was one the past couple seasons that was kind of the last man standing in our trials in terms of downy mildew. So it was very impressive to us that those vines really held up. And though it was a concentrated set that provided most of its yield at the beginning of the season, it did continue to set fruit throughout the season, especially given that the vine held up that long. Then we'll transition to melons. We have 2 new cantaloupes this year that we're excited to introduce. Melon Thunderstruck is unique in that it is an extended shelf life melon. So you may be familiar with long shelf life varieties. This is similar and different at the same time. So long shelf life varieties tend to have a really firm flesh and be lacking in some flavor profile. Melon Thunderstruck is different in that it has an Eastern melon flavor and texture, but still has that longer shelf life. So we're calling it an extended shelf life variety. It is an 80-day melon that reaches 5 to 7 pounds. It has full color change in slips, so it'll be easy for you to know when it's ready to harvest. And I think you'll be really impressed. Our team really liked this one in trials, had really nice texture and flavor, and even held up, one that I took home held up on our counter for several days without losing any sort of quality. This also has intermediate resistance to fusarium wilt and to powdery mildew, if those are things that you're interested in your melon plantings. Next is Melon True Love. This one is exciting for us because it is the first variety in the Eastern melon category that we can offer as organic seed. So if you're an organic or sustainable grower and you would like to have a standard cantaloupe, this would be a great choice for you. It's a 76-day melon, 2 to 3 pounds. So it's a really nice, smaller, more personal size melon. This was one of my favorites in the trial that I had taken several home. It is quite aromatic and has really high sugars and a really nice texture. So I know we've had some feedback from some of you in the past few years that you wish that the melons had a little more aroma when they were on your stand, and that some of those older varieties filled that need for you, but those are being discontinued more and more as time passes. So this may be an option for you if you like having melons with that aroma that kind of draws people in at your stand. Again, this is a full slip melon and it has high resistance to fusarium wilt and powdery mildew, which is really great, again, if you are growing organically. So this is one, a really nice melon that I'd encourage you to try this year if you are a cantaloupe grower. Then we have 2 new watermelons this year, both from the Syngenta product line. Watermelon Powerhouse is a far more treated variety that comes in at 85 days. It reaches 13 to 16 pounds, typically a 45-count bin. It has a really great shape. It's blocky fruit, firm red flesh and few pips, as you can see in the picture here. The rind is really thick and great for packing into bins and shipping. It holds up really well. Standard crimson sweet rind on these. The standout trait for Watermelon Powerhouse is that the sugars develop really early in the season and they hold really well in the field for a long period of time. So you may be able to pick some of these a little bit early and they'll still have good sweetness. And then you may be able to also pick some a little bit late and you won't have lost any fruit texture quality or flavor. So if you do find that you need some flexibility in your watermelon harvesting, Powerhouse would be a great variety and still in that larger fruit slab. The vines have performed really well all across the eastern US, and they have intermediate resistance to fusarium wilt and anthracnose. Then we have Watermelon Dark Night, which is a specialty watermelon. So you can see it's a globe shape with a solid dark green rind. It'll be 14 to 17 pounds and comes in at about 80 days. I would say compare this if you grow Sweet Gem or Wayfarer, this would be similar to that. It's about a day later than Sweet Gem, but a little bit larger and a couple days earlier than Wayfarer. So if you do have success with these dark rinded melons, Dark Night is really nice with dark red flesh that's medium firm with small pips. You can see in the picture there. And really nice sweetness and tolerance to hollow heart. I saw no hollow heart in this plot in our trial this past season, where I did see it in some other plots right next door. I can attest, at least in the 2021 season, that we had really good performance for Dark Night in our trial. And again, this has intermediate resistance to fusarium wilt and anthracnose, as well as powdery mildew, which not all melons have. So that may be something to consider if you really struggle with your powdery mildew pressure. Okay, so that kind of concludes our cucurbit section, and we'll transition now into our solanaceous crops. And a lot of you, the majority of you commented that you grow tomatoes, so hopefully you'll be excited about some of these new varieties that we've picked up this year. I'll start with Tomato Celebrity Plus. A lot of you are probably familiar with Tomato Celebrity. This is an improvement on Celebrity, the standard version, which has improved disease resistance. So it has added intermediate resistance to tomato spotted wilt virus. So if that's a pressure that you have in your area, this could be a good switch for you from Celebrity over to Celebrity Plus. If you are a bedding plant grower, this will also be a great transition for you, because then it will add that extra protection so that any home gardeners who purchase Celebrity transplants from you will have that added protection and hopefully increase success from growing Celebrity Plus. So it has the same features as standard Celebrity. It's a 75-day from transplant variety, 7 to 10 ounce with that deep oblate fruit shape. It is a determinant variety, and that disease package will help you push harvest later into the season. The breeders of Celebrity who had transitioned this to Celebrity Plus are also releasing similar varieties of Better Boy and Big Beef. So stay tuned in 2023 as we transition Better Boy to Better Boy Plus and Big Beef to Big Beef Plus. And then going forward in the future, those standard varieties will be replaced with these plus varieties. So just keep that in mind as you're looking to make your purchases over the next couple of years of those standard varieties. And there shouldn't be any hiccups with supply or transition of these varieties. They've been preparing them for a couple of years. So stay tuned for those, and soon we'll have the full lineup of the plus series of these slicer varieties. Another determinant slicer that we added this year is Tomato Saybrook. This one we list as treated pelleted seed only. So there's only a few varieties of tomatoes that are available to us with pelleting, and so we and Saybrook is one of them. So we're glad to have another option for those of you who like pelleted seed for your different seeding methods and tools. Saybrook is a later season variety with 80-day maturity from transplant. It does have extra large fruit. It's suited to vine ripe and mature green harvest. We've had some growers in the Southeast who have been really pleased with how Saybrook has performed for them. It has a really nice disease package for late season with high resistance to Alternaria, Fusarium, Verticillium, and gray leaf mold. and intermediate resistance to TSWV and nematodes. So if that's something that you are looking for as a late season variety that gives you some flexibility in how you harvest and some good disease protection, then Saybrook may be one that you would like to try. We're also excited about a new saladette variety, Tomato Da Vinci. We've looked at this for several seasons and we're glad that it's finally ready for us to release to you. It's a 75-day variety with a semi-determinate habit. The yields are really impressive. I was taken aback each time I visited the trial. I every year do kind of a blind trial. I don't have the variety names in the plot. So I walk up to this one and was always impressed and had to check my book a second time that this is really the variety that had such a high yield on that nice compact plant. So I think that you'll be really impressed with the set that you get from Da Vinci. It's recommended for the succession of the season. If you're growing Pony Express, you start with Pony Express as your first planting slot and then transition into Da Vinci for your late season. It has more of an extended set than Pony Express does, plus the disease resistance package. So it'll help push your yields later into the season without loss of quality or consistency in the fruit. The Crimson gene is also present in this variety, so you can see you've got really nice red color throughout. And again, I've listed off the disease resistance package there, which is pretty comprehensive for a field grown setting. So we hope that you'll give Da Vinci a try, especially if you're growing Pony Express. We think you'll be really impressed with how this performs in the second planting slot. Next, we'll get into some specialties. Tomato Mai Tai is a really beautiful indeterminate bicolor slicer. It's a 75-day variety that we're offering as organic seed. It's part of the Mixologist series that Vitalis Seeds is offering, and it's got this really beautiful yellow fruit with a red blush throughout. So you'll see at the blossom end, it starts and then it moves all the way up through the core of the fruit. We really liked it in trials. Our team was really impressed with the flavor of these varieties, or of this variety. It has a really sweet, tangy flavor. The texture is very nice. So we think that it'll be a good choice to serve heirloom markets without having to sacrifice your marketable yield. So you'll have a really nice refined fruit with good smoothness and not a lot of cracking or other fruit shape issues. This does perform well in open field and protected culture, and it has a nice disease resistance package for that specialty type. So if you're growing something like a Mr. Stripey or a striped German, the fruit will be a little smaller and it is more of a standard round fruit, but it does have that same color that could serve those heirloom markets well. Next is Tomato Marzito, which is probably one of my favorites from this past season. We're offering it as untreated seed. It is a 55-day mini Marzano variety. So it kind of fits in that grape slot, but it does have a bit of a Marzano shape you can see with that kind of elongated and enlarged blossom end. It has a really nice firm texture like a grape tomato would, but it has more of a distinct flavor. I would say it's more of a rich, more complex flavor than some standard grape varieties do. It's really nice for fresh eating and for cooking. You can cook these down into a nice sauce. I roasted a lot of them this past summer in my own cooking at home, and they just have a really nice complex flavor. The indeterminate plants can be grown in open field or protected culture, and they're really high yielding with long trusses of fruit that are easy to pick. It has intermediate resistance to Fusarium, TMV, TOMV, TLM, and nematodes. And like I said, it's really early maturing at 55 days, and it's got really high yields, nice fruit size and shape. So I think it's one that you'll be impressed with, whether you are a home gardener or a professional grower. I've made a note here on the slide. If you like Tomato Juliet, I would suggest that you try this one. We'd offered Juliet for several years, and it was becoming increasingly difficult for us to source the seed in a timely manner. So we don't list Juliet this season, but I think that you'll be really impressed with Marzito. It's got a similar fruit size, Not really the same fruit shape, of course, because it's a mini Marzano type. But I think that the yields and the flavor will make up for it. So I hope if you like Juliet, you will give Marzito a try. Next is tomato red coral. This is a variety we've been looking at for several seasons as well. This is a true determinate grape tomato, so you can grow it on 4-foot stakes without having to provide any additional care apart from your other determinate tomatoes. It is extremely high yielding. Another one, again, as I stepped up to the plot in the trial, I had to double check that I had the right number. I was really pleased to see that it's consistently performed that way. It is a 70-day variety. The fruit do not shatter from the plant, and there's very minimal cracking. So they have a really strong skin, but not too strong, like not chewy like you get in some of those other grape tomatoes. And we were really impressed with how the flavor and sweetness compared to other varieties in our trial, as well as how they held up after harvest. So this is another one that I often took home, and they held up really well for us in our kitchen. It has a good disease resistance package. Again, they're listed. So we're hopeful that this is one that may work for you if you struggle with the indeterminate habit of a lot of grape tomatoes. We encourage you to try red coral. You can see in the picture here, they set quite nice long trusses again for easy and quick harvesting. Then we have a new tomatillo for this season, Siqueiros. We're excited to introduce this one. We will be losing Tamayo. It will be discontinued over the next couple of seasons. So we wanted to give you a chance to trial Siqueiros ahead of time. It does have really early concentrated yields. It has more of a manageable plant than Tamayo does. You can grow it under stake or in-ground production without support. So we were pleased to see that it's a little bit more manageable, but without any loss in yield. It has really large, deep green fruit, a nice citrusy flavor, and the outer husk will split on these when they're mature, so it takes some of the guesswork out of when you should harvest your tomatillos. So we're excited to have Siqueiros, and wanted to, again, just make you aware that Tamayo will be phasing out over the next couple of seasons, so encourage you to try this one instead. Next, we'll go into some of our peppers, both sweet and hot. This is a new sweet pepper dragonfly. We're listing it as untreated seed. It is a 55-day variety, so it's very early. And that is in part because you are picking it in the unripe state of the purple stage. It will ripen to red. They are a little bit smaller than your standard green blocky. They're a 3-inch blocky fruit. What was most impressive to me about pepper dragonfly was that it has a really striking deep purple black color that held for a really long time in the field. So some varieties will have kind of more of a brownish tinge, or you really can see the green underlying the purple. And these are very black purple fruit. And it held up in the field for a very long time before it ripened to red. So that'll give you some flexibility in harvesting these as well. It has really nice wall thickness and sweetness. It doesn't have any of those off tastes that you get sometimes in those immature purple fruit. It had a really mild, nice flavor and sweetness. So that was a standout trait to us in the trials as well, compared to some other purple varieties that we tried. And they're very well adapted to trials around the country. This is an All-America Selections winner. And it has high resistance to TMV and TOMV, which is not terribly common in these specialty varieties. So if you are currently using Purple Beauty as your purple variety, that's an open pollinated, I would encourage you to try Dragonfly and see what you think. I think you'll be impressed with the color and the quality. Then we'll transition into some hot peppers. This is Parker Marquise. It's a treated seed variety that we've picked up this year in our Poblano class. It is a large 3 1/4 by 6 1/2 inch fruit, thick-walled, very dark green that ripens to a dark chocolate brown color. We were really impressed with how consistent the fruit size and shape is. They're consistently 2-lobed. The plants are very vigorous and large with high yields. All of the plants are very upright and well branched, so they covered the fruit really nicely. And even though the yields were amazing, the plants did not lodge. They were held upright, and I found little to no sun scald on any of them. So was really impressed with how that habit supported the high yields. The plants also offer intermediate resistance to BLS 1 through 3, which is something that's unique for some hot peppers. So we're excited to offer some varieties that have a little bit more disease protection. So if you grow poblanos or anchos, we encourage you to try marquise this year. Similarly, we picked up pepper Scorpio, which is a variety, again, a hybrid variety that has a disease resistance package. So this also has intermediate resistance to BLS. We're offering this as treated seed. It is a hot banana pepper that reaches 7 to 8 inches. And very similarly to the pepper marquise, they come from the same breeding program. And so they really focus a lot on the vigor and quality of the plant habit. So this again has a really upright, high yielding plant that holds the fruit really high and keeps them well protected. The fruit are really straight and uniform bright yellow-green color and with low anthocyanin appearance. So I found, again, almost no fruit that had any purpling in our trial. So I was very impressed with how Scorpio performed, how high the yields were, and just the general health and quality of the plants for these. Continuing into hot peppers, with disease resistance, we are excited this year to offer pepper time bomb. This is a hybrid hot cherry pepper. So if you're growing large red cherry hot, you may be interested in trying time bomb. Given that it's a hybrid, you get a little bit of a higher yield, higher uniformity and consistency throughout the fruit shape and quality. And the difference with these is that they are a little bit smaller fruit than you get in large red cherry hots. So these are 1.5 inch kind of blocky shape. They do ripen green to red, and they have a really unique light heat and smoky flavor. So it's really nice for pickling and salsas and things like that. Not too hot, but just enough heat for those sorts of recipes. And these plants offer high resistance to tobacco virus, which again is unique from the large red cherry hot open pollinated strains. Next, we have pepper brown flamethrower. This is a unique situation. We had trialed this product and decided to add it to our lineup to replace chocolate habanero, but have since learned that it will only be available for a limited time. The supplier has chosen to discontinue the variety for reasons out of their control. So this will be only available for this season in limited quantities or limited quantity if you're interested in trying it. After that, we'll go back to selling habanero chocolate. So pepper brown flamethrower is a 90-day brown habanero, and the fruit are very similar in size to chocolate habanero, 1 3/4 inch in each direction. Thin-walled standard habanero style fruit, but with that brown color. And as I mentioned, limited availability. So if it's something you want to try and order just a small packet of for this season, please feel free to do so. And then we'll transition back over to the chocolate habanero for next season. Continuing in the solanaceous, we've got eggplants next. This is eggplant Gaudi. It's a hybrid variety that comes in at 80 days. It's a standard half-long oval classic style eggplant. The difference between eggplant Gaudi and some like classic or Picasso or Traviata is that it's a little more stout and a little bit rounder than those others that have a little more of an elongated narrow shape. So if you think that that would be suitable for your market to have that little bit of a different shape, this could be a good choice for you. It also has a really impressive dark purple black color. It's one of the darkest that we had in our trials, and the color holds very well in the field and post-harvest. So you won't get any of that discoloration if you leave them on the plant a little bit longer than you might have liked, or after you've boxed them. It really will hold that dark purple black color very nicely. It also has a spineless calyx for easier harvesting, which is definitely something that we appreciate. So if you have grown Picasso, it's from that same breeding line as Picasso, but as I mentioned again, with a little bit of a stockier shape and darker black color. And this can be used in protected culture and open field settings. Then we have a couple of new specialty eggplants. Eggplant Asian Delight is a very early maturing 50-day eggplant with very bright purple, slender fruit. The calyx is green and semi-spineless. It has tender, non-bitter flesh that's a very bright white that does not discolor quickly. You have some harvest flexibility with Asian Delight, so you can harvest at 5 to 7 inches long for baby eggplants or 9 to 12 inches for full size. And these can be grown in open field or in container. I was really impressed with Asian Delight. We trialed it against Purple Comet that we had listed in the past. And Asian Delight had a lot more uniform fruit and a brighter purple and just overall higher marketable yield and quality. So I think you'll be really impressed with Asian Delight if you have grown Purple Comet in the past. Then we also have added Eggplant Fairy Tale. This variety has been on the market for a while. It's not one that we have offered. It is an All-America Selections winner. We're offering it as untreated seed, and it is a very compact plant that sets these small, slender eggplants. They are white eggplants with violet, light purple striping. So they are very high quality flesh, non-bitter, and really nice for small space gardens or containers. So this is definitely a nice variety for home gardeners. It also performs in a field setting if you wanted to consider growing this alongside Hansel and Gretel for a tricolor combination for market sales. You could put a few rows in field of Fairy Tale and it would perform just fine. It also would be a nice choice if you're selling transplants, if you're a bedding plant grower selling to home gardeners, this would be a nice choice as well. It really is a high yielder for given how small the plant is. So you can see in the photo there, the clusters of fruit that you could pick very easily. They are semi-spineless, so it won't be too rough on your harvesters. Then we'll transition out of solanaceous into some beans. We have picked up this year a new purple pole bean called Carmenat. This will be available in untreated seed. It is a 62-day variety. This pole bean is really beautiful. So not only are the pods this dark purple color, but the vines and flowers are also tinged with purple. So if you're a home gardener and you like growing beans and you'd be interested in trellising some pole beans or making a pole bean archway or something like that, this would be a really beautiful choice for that because it carries that purple color throughout the plant. The pods are 3 sieve and they are best harvested at 8 to 9 inches long. So it'll give you a lot longer bean than you would get with a standard bush bean. And given that it's a pole bean and trellis, they would be very straight and high quality at a 3 sieve. The dark purple color does fade when cooked, and it is does have a dark green interior, so it'll fade to more of a green colored bean. And this has high resistance to BCMV, which is not as common in pole beans. So we're excited to be able to offer a specialty pole bean this year, particularly that has this beautiful purple color. Sticking with purple beans, we've added bean Celine, which is available as organic seed. This is the first purple wax bush bean on the market. So it is a yellow wax bean with a purple skin, which causes the pod to appear more of a lighter magenta color as opposed to a deep purple that you might expect from something like amethyst. So it is a bush bean and grows similarly to any other bush variety. It's 50 days, but you will get that bright magenta color and you'll have more of a wax bean eating quality. The pods are best picked at 2 to 3 sieve and 4.5 to 5 inches long. So they are a little bit smaller than your standard green bean, but they really offer a gourmet quality with nice flavor and sweetness, and they have high resistance to BCMV. So this is one that we've trialed for a couple of seasons, and we're really excited to be able to offer it to you for another specialty bean that you can add to mixes. You would be able to combine this with a green, a yellow wax, and even a dark purple amethyst, because this is pretty distinctly different hue of purple than something like amethyst or royal burgundy has. So we're excited to be able to give you another option there. Lastly, for beans, we have Bean Forester. This is a new Bush Romano bean for us. It will be available as treated seed, 60-day maturity. What stood out to me about being Forester was just the high yields. This was really a remarkably yielding bean. The pods are set up very high. The plants have really excellent architecture. The pods are a little bit more narrow than something like Valero or Navarro, but they still are just as flat. They just have a little bit more of a slender pod. 5.5 inches is their average length, and they have medium green color. The crisp texture and sweet flavor are really nice for fresh eating. So this is definitely one that we all enjoyed a lot when we were out working in the trial field. There was definitely a higher concentrated set at the beginning of the set cycle, but it did have a little bit of a secondary set that came in after, and definitely had slow seed development. So we were really impressed with this one and glad to offer it to you. You may have noticed that bean Navarro was lost from our product line this year. The supplier has chosen to discontinue that. So we're excited to have another option for you alongside Roma 2 and Valero in bean Forester. And this does also offer high resistance to halo blight if that's something that you've been challenged with in your bean crops in the past. Then moving into some of our allium crops, we have added a couple of new organic onion varieties this year. Onion Gladstone is a long day white onion, 110-day maturity. It'll set medium to large bulbs that can reach 4 to 5 inches. We were really impressed with this in our trial. It was definitely one of the better performers in our trial this year. It has striking bright white color and resists greening really well. So we didn't have any instance of greening in our trial this year. The bulbs are very firm with a mild sweetness, and they have moderate storability and intermediate resistance to pink root. So it is really beautiful onion, and we're excited to have a long day white onion to offer you that is a hybrid in addition to our white sweet Spanish. So if that's something that you've been looking for, we hope that this Gladstone will be a good fit for that. Then we have onion red carpet, which is also available organically. It's a little bit longer, maturing at 115 days, but it is still a long day red variety. The globe-shaped bulbs do have a little bit of a shoulder, and they reach 3 to 4 inches in diameter on average. The deep red color is very prominent there on the skins that are very strong and hold well in storage. We were really pleased to see that there was not a lot of flaking of the skins on red carpet. The color carries really nicely through to the interior layers, and the necks dry down really tightly and they store very well. Red carpet also has intermediate resistance to pink fruit. So again, we're excited to have another long day variety that we can offer in the red class in addition to Red Defender. Next, we have a Challion Creme Brulee. This is a really unique, interesting variety that we had trialed a couple of seasons, and I'm really pleased to be able to introduce it to you. This is definitely one of my favorites from this season's additions. Challion is a specialty shallot that is known for exceptional sugar profiles and gourmet cooking quality, but it's also really easy to grow and really easy to cook with. It's very easy to peel and offers a really nice flavor profile to a lot of dishes. I've used some of these in my own cooking in a variety of ways, and it's just a nice variant from your standard shallot. It has a little bit different flavor profile. They typically reach 4 to 5 inches long, and as you can see in the picture, they have a really beautiful coppery pink skin. The rosy interior carries through the different layers that are quite thick, and they have a really high instance of being single-centered, which is nice as well, and a long storage potential. So if you've grown shallots in the past and have found it to be a little more challenging than you would like, or that it wasn't providing you with the returns that you'd hope for, I may encourage you to try a Challion Creme Brulee. They are a little easier to grow than your standard shallot, and they are sought after in gourmet restaurant settings. So you may have some markets that would be interested in purchasing these from you. Then we have 2 new organic leeks this year. First is leek Chinook. This is a hybrid leek that's medium green for summer production. It's very fast growing at 90-day maturity, and it has impressive uniform shanks. They are all very straight good size and weight. I would say comparison to megaton. If you were a megaton grower, this may be one that you'd like to try. It has been in the market for a few years, so you may already have seen it or heard of it, but we're excited to be able to offer it to you this year as a substitute for megaton, and to offer you another option in the organic seed lineup for that summer leek. The second one is Leek Rally. Again, organic seed at 85 days. This is more of a blue-green summer leek. Very heavy uniform shanks with a tight upright fan. They're very easy to clean in the field, and Leek Rally offers intermediate resistance to rust and thrips. Then we'll transition into cabbages, or into our brassicas. Cabbage Katarina, we're offering as treated seed. It is a 48-day variety, so it is currently the earliest cabbage we offer in our lineup. You'll get 2.5 to 3 pound dome-shaped heads from Katarina, and it is an early green cabbage best suited for spring and summer seasons. It has a very compact plant, so you can plant them very closely in the field. They also are a good choice for small space home garden beds. This is an All-America Selections winner, so it has been proven to perform all across the United States. And it has really high quality, sweet, tender leaves, so it is really well suited to all sorts of cooking or fresh use that you may be looking for in a smaller green cabbage. And I would encourage, again, as I mentioned, it's an early season cabbage. So prior to offering Katarina, Quick Start was our earliest cabbage at 60 days. So you'll gain at least a week of production time with Katarina for those early spring sales. Quick Start is also going to be a shorter crop this season. So I'd encourage you, if you are a Quick Start grower, to consider Katarina as a substitute for that. Next, we have cauliflower clementine. This is a really beautiful, deep orange curded cauliflower. So if you've grown cheddar in the past, I think you'll be impressed with clementine. It has a darker orange curd than cheddar does. Sometimes cheddar will look a little bit like it's a white variety that's off colored, or it's got too much sun exposure. Clementine is very distinctly orange with very deep color. It has good firmness and field holding ability, so the curds don't get hairy very quickly in summer heat. And it has a medium-sized plant, so it's very versatile for different spacings and planting settings, and suited to fresh market and processing use. Then we have Kale Rainbow Candy Crush. This is untreated seed 55-day pink curly kale. You can see the really beautiful pink leaves there. It's got a very upright plant habit and thick, tender leaves with nice, mild sweetness, really well suited to kale chips. The pink color will vary in its depth depending on your temperatures. So it can vary from a lighter, bright pink to a deeper magenta, depending on what sort of temperatures you've had throughout your season. Then we're also excited to offer 3 new grains mixes this year. We have there, in order from left to right, the Frilly Leaf Blend, Bright and Spicy Mix, and Tasty Mustard Mix. And you can see in the chart down below, the Bright and Spicy Mix offers a really wide range of greens types and textures and colors. So you've got greens, reds, purples, and goldens in your Bright and Spicy. That's the one there in the center. Frilly Leaf Blend there on the left has mizunas, mustards, and arugula, but they are all highly frilled leaves in greens and purples. And then the Tasty Mustard Mix at the right is only mustards in a range of highly frilled to lightly frilled leaves in greens, reds, and purples. So we're excited to offer some new mixes that may help you take a little bit of the guesswork out of creating some salad mixes for your roadside stands, and give you some other options for either moderately frilled to highly frilled mixtures. You could combine these with other greens that you may be growing. But all in all, we were really impressed with the quality and the uniformity of these mixes. So we're excited to get your feedback on them. We've also added a new arugula Dragon's Fire. This will be available untreated seed. It is a 40-day wild arugula with deep lobes, as you can see in the picture there. It's got a bright green leaf with a contrasting red vein. It's really beautiful for garnishment, but it also has a really nice spicy flavor. It's not a mild arugula where sometimes you can't taste much of that peppery flavor. This is very strong for given such a small leaf. The vigorous plants grow uniformly and the leaf appearance is quite uniform as well. So it is well suited for that garnishment or baby leaf sort of high value market. And then we have a new organic pak choi, bo pak. It's a hybrid white petiole pak choi that matures in 45 days. It has a very nice compact upright habits. You can see in the image there, and can be grown for baby pak choi or full-size heads. It also holds its quality really well throughout the summer heat. So it's very slow to bolt and slow to show any heat stress. And lastly, we have a new chive, Nelly. This is also available organically. So we up until now had not offered an organic option for chives. This is a standard chive with dark blue-green leaves that are fine to medium thick. It bunches really well for market sales, but is also suited to processing markets. The habit is really vigorous and upright and regrows well after cutting, and it offers disease and thrip resistance. So if you are looking again for organic seed for herb production, we now carry chive Nelly in addition to our standard untreated chives. And on that note, if you are an organic grower or you look to grow untreated seeds only, we have added untreated options for some of our staple varieties that have traditionally been carried as treated seed only. So we are now listing carrot Scarlet Nance, broccoli Imperial, and melon Athena as untreated forms. So if you are interested in growing those varieties that have become kind of standby varieties for our conventional growers, those are now available to you. So those are our new varieties for this season. I hope that that gave you a good picture of why we chose them and what we're really excited about. And I hope that you'll see the same if you choose to try some of those this season. Before we transition into Q&A, I have a couple more slides to show you some new products that are on the way, hopefully in the next few weeks. We like to have some mid-season introductions to share with you. So these will be soon to be available. They're not yet available for purchase. We're waiting to hear how much seed will be available to us and whether it will be seed for trialing or for sales. So stay tuned on these, but I'd like to give you a little bit of a teaser so you know what to look for if you're interested in including any of these in your plantings this year. So coming soon, we have Bolt XR there in the upper left. It is a 67-day bicolor super sweet that would fit in with Catalyst or Kickoff. So if you're a Kickoff grower, I would highly recommend that you consider trialing Bolt. This year, we will have a very limited quantity of seed for sales, but we'll have some good amounts for trialing. So be sure to reach out to your sales rep to see if you can get your name on some of that sample seed for trial. Then at the upper right is Bean Bartram. You may have trialed some of these varieties with us in the past couple of years. That's where you'll see the HMC or HMX variety number there. That was the experimental number. So Bean Bartram is your standard green bush bean. It's a 4-sieve 56-day maturity, but the standout with this one is that it had really exceptional heat set ability. So we're excited to have another variety available to you all that has good heat set, strong disease resistance, upright plant, and great yield that you expect from a lot of our beans that we offer. Then in the lower left is Sweet Corn Summer Celebration. This is a yellow super sweet that's 74 days. It's a new addition to the Quality Elite lineup. So if you're familiar with those varieties in that Quality Elite program, it'll have all those same high quality eating traits and agronomics. And we're excited to be able to introduce that one to you as well. And that will, again, it's 74 days, so it'll be in that early to mid-season slot. Then at the lower right is Pepper Captain. We've trialed this for several years. Some of you may have seen it as Pepper 1996. And we're excited to offer this one as another choice for a large to extra large blocky bell with BLS 10 and Phytophthora protection. So if you are challenged with those disease pressures and you're struggling to get a variety that will protect against those and also provide you with good extra large fruit size, we encourage you to look into Captain. So stay tuned for these to be available. Then we also have some new pumpkin varieties that will be available soon. And we are very excited to be able to introduce these to you. We have trialed some of these for upwards of 4 years. And so we are really looking forward to being able to tell you their names and to be able to get you some samples to try. So in the upper left is pumpkin Olympus, and then at the upper right is pumpkin Adonis. These are both large carving pumpkins, 30 pounds. They are a Cronus class pumpkin that has a more reliable set and higher yield. So a lot of you are really impressed with Cronus and the size and the stem and the quality. We're really pleased to be able to offer Olympus and Adonis as some options for that class with a higher marketable yield. And the difference between these, the Olympus is a little more of a round shape, as you can see in the picture, and Adonis tends to have more of an upright shape. Then in the lower left, we have a mini crunchkin type variety that has a high virus resistance package. So this one is yet to be named, but if you grow minis and you struggle with virus fleck, this would be a good choice for you to keep an eye on as well. And that will be named soon, and we'll share that to you as soon as we have it. And then in the lower right is pumpkin popcorn. That name popcorn is still being finalized, but it'll probably be some variation of popcorn. And this is a really interesting specter type creamy white pumpkin with heavy wording. So if you've grown specter, you know that it will go from white to kind of a off-white creamy color, and it has a very light wart. And then pumpkin popcorn has a much heavier wart. And so we're really excited to be able to offer that as well. So our hope is that we'll have more information about availability of trial seed and seed available for purchase come the end of January. So if any of these stood out to you as something you would like to grow this coming season, please keep it on your list and be sure to check with your sales rep about availability once we have more information there. And with that, I thank you all for your time, and hope you gained something from the discussion today about our new varieties, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have had.
Thank you so much, Kristen. So we did have a number of questions that were submitted during your presentation. I'm going to start with the first couple that came through, and we'll work our way through the rest of the questions.
Okay.
The first question was about the red coral tomato. We have a customer who is wondering if you can speak to its sweetness and how it might compare to the red candy.
Okay. I end up tasting so many tomatoes in the trials, I have to pause for a minute and remember how they all compared to one another. But I remember that I was pleased with the quality of the red coral. Like I had mentioned before, some grape tomatoes have a really tough skin, and this one was tough enough that it didn't crack on the plant, but it held up really nice and it wasn't too chewy. And grape tomatoes are my favorite, so I don't tend to be too partial about the sweetness, but I do remember that they were really nice, really high sweetness, and just kind of a standard tomato flavor, not a lot of additional depth to it. I would say it compares pretty similarly to red candy, maybe a touch less sweet. Would you agree, Christine? Do you remember?
I remembered really liking the red coral, but I don't know if I would say it's as sweet as the red candy.
Yeah, I think I would place it just slightly below red candy in sweetness.
So we had a question about the fairy tale eggplant.
Okay.
One of our customers said that they grew this last season and the eggplant demonstrated some gray striping instead of the purple. And they're wondering if you know why that might be.
I guess I haven't seen that. That's interesting. I would wonder if it had something to do with nutrient or with just the season and the amount of sun exposure. But we could look into that a little bit further and connect with the breeder to see if they have any more information on that and get back to you.
And that's kind of where I was leaning to. potentially the growing conditions and also maybe the length of time that it was left on the vine, or on the plant, I should say.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that seems right.
let's see. We have a question about the sweet corn, and we're wondering if you could recommend a sweet corn variety that would replace the Mirai series.
Okay. Yeah, we have been without the Mirai series for several seasons now. Unfortunately, they really are great varieties, but we are really looking forward to some new ones that are coming up that I think will be much improved over what Mirai was. But I would say for the time being, it somewhat depends on which Mirai you were partial to, because there were so many in the series that were different colors and days to maturity. But I would definitely direct you to look at some of the Quality Elite series, as well as the IFSI Reserve series for replacements there. I would say that the quality is as good, if not better, than what Mirai had, and you'll definitely have a lot more harvest flexibility and holding ability in the field. We do have a blog post on our website pertaining to the Mirai series where I offered some specific replacements for each specific Mirai variety. So if there's one in particular that you want to check out, we have it outlined there. I will also add that the Mirai line has been purchased by Illinois Foundation Seeds. So we're excited that they will be taking that Mirai quality and incorporating it into some of their introductions to come. So kind of, I guess, stay tuned for new varieties from Illinois Foundation Seeds. We'll have some of that background from the Mirai series included in them.
That's great. And that's a great reminder that our website has a wonderful selection of blog posts and culture guides. So if you have specific questions about storing any of these crops, how to grow them, germination, temperatures, all of that, you'll find a lot of information on our website. And please feel free to reach out with any specific questions that you may have. We have one more question that just came through, and I don't know if we have the answer to this yet. This is about one of our future adds to our pumpkin line. This is about the pumpkin popcorn. Do you know what the approximate days to maturity would be for this?
You're quizzing me.
I know.
I think I remember it being 110 days is my first thought. But when we do have more information about when these will be available for sale, we'll be sending out some communications via email, and you'll see some notices on our website as well about the mid-season launches. And when we have those put together, all of those products will be available on our website with their full info, including days to maturity and all the other spec information. But I do think it's somewhere around 105, 110 days, if I'm remembering correctly. But yeah, stay tuned. In the next couple weeks, we hope to have some more formal launch information. But since I had the opportunity today, I wanted to make y'all aware of what was on the way.
Thank you so much. So just, we did have a question earlier from one of our attendees about the ornamental webinar. We will have a cut flower webinar scheduled for January 18th. We do have a larger webinar that we are planning for the ornamentals coming up in February, but we'll have a more specific date for you once we have that planned, and we will be marketing that on the website so you have more information about it. But Kristen, thank you so much. You offered us a ton of new varieties and a lot of information about them. Again, this is being recorded. This information will be on the website if you want to review any of the questions and varieties that she answered today. We also have a short survey that will be submitted right after this. So if you have a few moments, please take some time to answer those questions. It helps us to know how to better help you in the coming season, what you're looking for, as well as how to get you the information you need. So thank you everyone for joining us.